who are located all around the country in different localities in different states. So you have a big agenda here. The global connections, how to build effective alliances for structural change, how to link that to notions of privilege, the privileges that people have to give up, because of course that's very linked to how we're going to change notions about rights, changing assumptions. So we give each one of you an opportunity to weigh in on an aspect of the question that you would like to relate to. So why don't we start at the other end now, Rinku, and we'll come back up here.
So the global agenda is really, really important. I think there are a couple of key ideas that I'm focused on, and I'll just say what they are. One is migration, both migration and immigration, because we, pretty much every country in the world still makes policy as though, one, migration were not a very basic human activity, very, very basic, the most primal. You know, things are bad here, I gotta go find it better somewhere else. So that human urge is going to trump any level of lawmaking or vigilantism or poverty that prevents you from moving, anything. People will do whatever they have to do in order to find that better space. So, and in addition, we now have a global economy that's, I don't know, halfway built. Sometimes I think of it as incomplete, because corporations are able to move around freely. They're rewarded for doing that same thing, looking for more favorable conditions. But when human beings attempt to do the same thing, they're confronted by men with guns at the border and visa bureaucracies and so on. That's a fundamental unfairness that we have to begin to address. And there are some interesting experiments and lots of interesting ideas. The notion of union-based migration, for example. You know, you have real transnational unions. This is Jennifer Gordon's idea. And people join those unions transnationally, and then it's through the unions that they do their migration. The unions protect their rights, in various ways. But I think in addition to that, we have to be thinking about what kinds of local economies we're going to build, local economy for local consumption, and how that economy is going to be connected to the rest. So it's not possible to build a local economy that's disconnected, nor is it possible to build a sustainable local economy that's all about producing for people somewhere else. So that's a couple of things. Just very quickly to say on the alliances question, I'm going to focus on the leadership capacity that's required, because really to make an alliance work means that there's going to be conflict. There are going to be hard issue choices and priorities to set. And I trust my colleagues are going to talk about other elements of alliances, but one of the things we have to do is prepare leaders for that work. So I'm not at all opposed to single issue organizations or single constituency organizations, but you can build them in such a way that they are more capable of engaging more broadly, or in the opposite way, and there's a difference there. I will stop there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rinku. We're going to turn to Heather now, because she has a train to catch. And even though she's a fast runner.
Well, and hopefully I'll be able to stay through the end. But so I want to just touch on, I think, two of them. I will touch on this privilege question. And I think that I didn't catch your name. Sort of hit the nail on the head. I mean, that's sort of the point that I was trying to make. So you have a group that's not used to experiencing these extremely high levels of unemployment, that is now experiencing it, and they don't have the kinds of social service networks or any of this stuff sort of built up. This is new, and they're not used to it, and they're going to be extremely angry. So the challenge is, what are you going to do with them? right? Because they still constitute a plurality of of folks here in this country, right? They tend to vote. They live in communities around the country. We can't just ignore that and pretend that it doesn't exist. So we have to confront that in some way, and we have to confront it in a way that's inclusive and makes those workers who are out there, the millions of people who are out there in America today who don't have jobs, when they hear us talking about what we're going to do to get this economy back on track, they understand that that's going to include them, that we're not going to leave them behind too, and that we're going to include everybody. So that would be my suggestion. I was going to touch on the international, but I think I'm going to let my colleagues up here take that one.
Should we go to Lisa next, and then we'll come back? It's also a little bit of empathy that we're talking about too, when we're talking about a more inclusive tent here, including people who we frequently have not particularly thought needed to be included, that have had privileges in the past. So Lisa,
like the rest of
yeah.
us.
Thanks, Linda. This has just been great. I think the questions that I will address are the two that came from people working at the local level, the G14 group and the last speaker who said, you guys are national organizations, how are you going to help make this transition? Because I think those are kind of very stunning to me. And I think that when I do my work, I keep going back to what's in my head is traveling around as a program officer, looking at microfinance programs and continuing to see these women in their living rooms running daycare businesses, some of the family-based ones, who were able to grow in that, able to add employees, finance a house. It's part of what I saw so deeply at the ground. And I think of the two speakers who hearkened from grounded work. I do feel this is a very big moment for moving things that have been stuck for a long time at the level of federal policy. But I guess what I would conclude with is just the sense that we still need those stories, the anecdotes, and the evidence that comes very much from communities. And we've had urban examples a lot in the room right now. But I think if you're at that level, folks like me, think tanks, others, we need those stories, and we need those legs and arms. I think this is a time to move a lot of the structures that were stuck. It's like passing the Voting Rights Act, and then we have to get people to the polls. So I think we should be cheering that we're going to go to the Rose Garden on a few things that we've been waiting for. But I think neither the stories nor the legs and arms of people who can move the ideas once the paper's inked, if there's ink anymore, is a really vital part. That speaks to me.
Thank you, Lisa. So we'll go to Alan, and then we'll close up with Irasima.